Welcome to I Love My HBCU ? The podcast where we express our undeniable love for HBCUs, but where we are also not afraid to address a few tough questions. So, sit back, learn a little, love a lot, and rep your HBCU. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of I Love My HBCU ? With yours truly, Tosin Richard. So, when we got in touch with this lovely guest that some of you are seeing on screen and many of you are going to hear in a minute, one of our student segment producers got so excited because she is a face that if you don't know yet, you're going to get to see more and more and more of. JayCee Ruffin, thank you for gracing our podcast today. How are you?
That's a good intro right there. I like that. Yeah. Come on now. Speak that household name 2024. I love it.
Absolutely. JayCee
Yeah.
Ruffin, household name 2024. We're manifesting it for you, even if you haven't manifested it for yourself. But
I
knowing
appreciate
you
that.
and all the work that you're putting into everything you do, your manifestation is going to line up literally with all the hard work that you're putting into it. So
Thank you. Thank you.
So this smile and laughter of hers, we've been smiling and laughing literally before we even hit record. JayCee, you are I don't like to call people former athletes, but that's the right term. So you are a former
Yeah.
athlete, you are an international leadership empowerment speaker, you are becoming a well-renowned host. I'm going to be quiet in a hot second, and I'm going to let you tell our audience all the things that you get to play with and experiment with that has become your brand.
It's crazy because, without basketball, I wouldn't even be in this seat talking to you about what I do currently. So, basketball was my first love. It'll always be my first love. And I had some bad situations take place in my athletic career where I was blackballed across the conference and had bad coaches, and I never saw my scholarships after my senior year of high school, and ended up paying for all 4 years of college. And I never played ball officially on a roster in college, and I was ranked coming out of high school. And for 3 pointers and assists to be exact, and going to 3 different HBCUs and having the same experience, you kind of waver in your faith a lot. I talk about it publicly now where, I suffered from depression and emotional eating and identity issues and 2 suicide attempts. And, these things happen to former athletes on a regular basis, especially because of the fact that once those bright lights are off, it's no longer like you matter because the program no longer has anything to do with what your growth looks like on a regular basis, especially because in transparently speaking, athletic departments are only concerned with outcomes, and they're only concerned with, what have you done for me lately. So the main thing that happens is once your eligibility is up, it's like, okay, cool, we appreciate you, but their eyes are no longer directly on you anymore because you no longer have anything to do with their program. So unfortunately, I never had both sides of that, whether it was a choice to be on or a choice to be out. And I wasn't a person that was asking for money after a while. I was just like, yo, just give me a roster spot in the jersey. Let me go ahead and do what I got to do. I get you the points on the board. We'll get a title. That was my mindset 1,000%. And the same day that I started my hosting career was also the same day that I lost, or I should say, my last scholarship opportunity was rescinded. And that's because the second school that I attended had blackballed me to the third school that I was trying to go to. And I finally got confirmation from that third school's coach. And they told me. And so that's how I know, to be exact, of actually what happened. But, now that same day I hosted with my idol, who's now my big sister in radio, Angie Ange in DC. She's a legend. And Antonio, the Cuban cigar smoker, who was amazing on air as well. And that was my first gig at Bowie State University, to be exact, and unpaid. And then I transferred. I started at Elizabeth City and transferred to Bowie State, and then I transferred back to Elizabeth City. And when I transferred back to Elizabeth City, basketball was no longer in the forefront. I honestly had given up on it. And I hate saying it like that because I'm not a quitter in a lot of different areas of my life, almost all of them, if you will. And I felt like I had to give up something that I had been doing for about 18, 19 years of my life. How do you lose so much of your identity when it comes to that? And how do you just give up on a space where that's all you've known? So, yeah, now I went back to Elizabeth City and I started becoming the campus host that same semester. I that same semester I got my first check paid as a student to host the homecoming comedy show. My first show paid was with Alex Thomas and Spank Horton in the comedy show, and I was the host for it. And so that took me from there to BET, Revolt. Did a lot of sponsor engagements. I'm still the longest tenured host for the CIAA. Started that in 2015. And since Charlotte, I've been with them all the way up to now where we're in Baltimore. And um, uh, the best-selling author for 2 books. Um, and, proud to say that I've sit in the circles now with motivational speakers, the number one in the world, Eric Thomas, who has endorsed me as a speaker. So, it's just I've been in a lot of different great circles, and I've also had a lot of different things that have changed in my life. Lost friendships, lost relationships, lost money, just lost business partners, mentees backdoored me. I've been through a lot, and as a woman in this game, you just try to show that the perseverance is something that you're gonna have to have in order to stand tall. Because um, a lot of people will quit. A lot of people have quit. So yeah, that's a little bit, I guess.
A little. Wow, wow, wow. JC, you what haven't you touched on is the question. Um, you've touched on so much parts of me. You got me emotional at different moments where I thought I was going to cry, and then you brought me back up in a very motivational way. I can see why Eric Thomas would endorse you as a speaker. It's
I
hard not
appreciate
to
that.
want to just listen to every single word that you're saying.
Wow.
I'm always writing notes. I say I'm writing down gems, and that's the truth. And one of
Hmm.
the gems that I've heard you've actioned it out. You didn't say it. You exhibited it. You give flowers to people consistently as you're talking. And not everybody does that. People don't. You talked about all the challenges, but you've also mentioned names of very specific people who have enabled you to be where you are, which is
Right.
impressive. And I say this because yes, this podcast brings on amazing HBCU alum like yourself, but also
Hmm.
students. My heart is always thinking about the students and what the students should be learning from things. And I hope
Right.
they learn from listening to, wow, a full throated journey that you have just shared. That you can't
Yeah.
only focus on the negative, you've also got to focus on the positive, and you've
Yeah.
got to give people their flowers along the way. I I I I want to go back to this moment of you being a student athlete, if you don't mind, for a hot
Okay.
second. Um, Student athletes get a bad rap. And the bad
Right.
rap that I think student athletes get is when most people look at you, we look at you and say, they've got the fame, they've got the spotlight on them, they've got
Right.
everything. I don't
Right.
think any single human being that listened to what you just said would have expected that to be your story. That you played unofficially, really, for four
Right.
years, and
Right.
that your money was not necessarily given to you.
Right.
I don't have to ask this, but I'm going to because I want to guess. In my mind, if I had gone through what you had gone through and somebody asked me what was my worst moment at an HBCU, how do you not say what you just said? But I'm curious.
Okay. Yeah.
But I'm curious. Yes.
Um, there was some times where there was a court case that I had to be a part of. One of my friends was involved in, and I had to be one of the witnesses on that case. And that was all in the process of me not playing ball, just transitioning. Because every HBCU that I went to, every school that I went to, the coach got fired 2 weeks after I transferred in, and I had conversations with him. So for example, my first school, the coach was released 2 weeks after we had our conversation, where I was coming in as a walk-on because the money was already allocated, and I never saw again my scholarships at that point. Then when I transferred, the coach that I started talking to was released of their duties 4 months after I had transferred and started working out and things of that nature. So I stayed that whole probably year and a half. And in the time of realizing that my opportunity was dwindling in basketball, I also had to deal with a court case and still go to class. Nobody removed me from out of class. Nobody gave me mental health therapy. Like none of that stuff was given. And I'm a strong individual, but I'm not gonna lie to you and tell you that the strongest ones actually go through it the worst, in my opinion, because we had to be strong for everybody. So you don't necessarily get a break, like, because you're always the person that's always navigating and pouring into everybody, versus when somebody else who's not as strong as I may be, they get the moment to kind of throw tantrums or kind of be themselves, or go on Instagram and talk about their problems and all these different things. And versus people like myself, when it comes to responsibility, you can't go out and act out like that. Like, you have to be charismatic as to how you act out. And then there's another piece of it where, you try to understand how to even navigate your own personal decision making, where, whether that's friendships, whether that's getting in a relationship, whatever that might be, you learning everything on the fly. So, and then you don't know what the only time management you ever had has been given to you because of your schedule by athletics. So, you think what you're doing is what life is going to look like for yourself, and then when all of it stops, you're like, what do I do? So I've had some moments where, even as a graduate, where it's been tough, where I've had, even transparently, my own sorority sisters talk about me and how I charge what I charge, and how I think I make it about myself. And I've had other HBCUs pay me more than HBCUs that I've been affiliated with. So it's been a journey by itself, because the one promise that I made to myself was that I would never be the person that everybody else has been to me. And so the reason why I try to be as honest and transparent as I possibly can when it comes to it is because I know what it feels like to be lied on and lied to. So when you've been through both of them, what more can you go through at that point? You just like, all right, well, been there, seen that, handled that. All right, what's next? That's kind of how it sits.
JC, you said something, you saw me clap, right?
Right,
You
I
said
did.
something. You said something. So, our guest outreach manager, Chris, who's been in touch with you, we were sitting down
Hmm.
late last year and just looking at the way some people have treated us, right?
Right,
And
yeah.
she's ready to fight for us at all times. And I literally said exactly what you just said. I said, I want to make sure that I always treat people the way I wish they had treated me.
Hmm.
I don't want to treat them the way they treated me. And
Hmm.
I love that I have a sister in JayCee Ruffin who thinks the
Hmm.
exact same way, whereby what's the point of treating you negatively if you treated
Right.
me negatively as well?
Well,
JC,
I say
go
this.
ahead.
I say
Go
this.
ahead.
I say this real quick too. I've adopted this new spirit too, because
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
I am big on protecting my energy. And let me tell you something. I am no longer treating people how they want to be, how I want to be treated. I'm treating them how they tell me. I'm treating them how they want to be treated at this point. You told me this what you want. Now you can't tell me that at this
Yeah.
point I'm not doing what it is you asked me to do.
Need to
So
do.
I have adopted that energy because I'm tired of feeling like, I give more than I receive. So in order to do that, I have managed my expectations when it comes to human beings as a whole.
Yeah.
And now it's like, in order for me to live with myself, I'm gonna just go ahead and tell you what it is. And we can get to the apologies afterwards, but I gotta live with
Afterwards.
me because there's plenty of times that I've said certain stuff and I said it because I wanted to make sure that their ego was okay,
Mm.
or they could live with them, and I ain't had because I didn't want to be in a confrontational space because as women, especially a black woman, you get told about your aggression or your arrogance and things of that nature. And for me personally, I've been told I was arrogant more than I was confident, and I was like, well, who gonna fight for me? Because everybody else is against me. That's what it seemed like. So, and I've tried not to be in that space. So it's like my confidence has allowed me to sit here and be like, okay, I'm gonna charge this. If you can't afford it, that just means you're not my client. And at the end of the day, too, if I go through this, what have I learned from it? I don't take L's. I got lessons out of this. So we always win 1,000%. But I promise you, I'm gonna treat you how you tell me to treat you, because we ain't going down this road.
I love it. Listen, if we had hours, we're going to have hours. She's in DC, so we're in Baltimore. We're going to have
Yeah,
hours soon
yeah. Shout out
where
to my beef one fam. Yeah.
yes, absolutely. There's so much more to dig into with what you just said because that doesn't come from nowhere. That came from somewhere.
Oh yeah.
So, yes. Okay. I want to treat you to the rapid fire segment. Have you
All
heard
right,
about
let's
our
do it.
rapid fire segment?
No, go ahead. Lay it on me. Let's go.
Okay, I love it. She's ready for anything. I love this. I absolutely love this. You're going to laugh at one of these questions. I can feel it coming.
Oh
All right,
boy.
60, yeah, I can feel it. 67 seconds on the clock, starting now. If your time in college was a song, what would it be?
Hard Knock Life by Jay-Z.
Nice, nice. That's a good one for you. Describe your HBCU experience in one word.
Oh, um, whoa, that's tough. Amazing, actually.
Amazing, amazing. Other than yourself, JayCee, who's your favorite host? Whew.
Ooh. I'm gonna give it to. That's. Do
And
they have to be at
unfair.
a HBCU?
It doesn't have to be. No, no.
Oh, okay. Um, that's tough because
It's
not
an unfair
everybody can
question.
host.
Not
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 everybody.
everybody can host.
Okay, so who can host it? I'll give it to I give it to Terrence J.
Terrence J. Okay, okay.
I'll give
I
it to
like
Terrence
that.
J.
You know,
That's because
you
he
didn't have to pick
family.
an HBCU. It did not have to be an HBCU grad, though. But okay, we'll
I
take it.
I had to think about host
That's fair. That's fair. That like an
because
actual
everybody,
host.
yeah, because I mean I've done radio, but that don't mean I can host. And
Absolutely.
everybody that has done certain things can't do certain things. So
Agreed.
yeah, yeah.
Agreed.
I'm
I
sorry,
used
we
up
off the
our.
time.
I used. We both used it up, but I'm still going to ask you two more regardless. I'm asking you two
Okay,
more regardless.
let's go.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how good of a
Hmm.
student were you? Not student
Oh yeah.
athlete, student.
Definitely about a 6 or a 7.
I'll take it. I'll take it. All right, this is the
Yeah.
last question. Um, Shout out your favorite professor or person at any one of the HBCUs you went to.
Thomasina Boardley.
Thomasina
Um,
Boardley.
she is she wear like 12 different hats at Bowie State University.
Listen,
Um, Coach T is the head cheerleading coach, but she also was head of student engagement, and new student orientation, student affairs. She was doing everything, and she is the person that actually gave me the keys to my career. So it was a situation that happened on campus, and I came up with the idea that we should do like something like Peace Week. And I sat down, we came up with the entire week in her office. It was after hours. And she asked me, so we did a staff versus student basketball game. And she said, well, JayCee, why don't you host it? And I was just like, okay. I had never hosted before in my life, but I worked in DC nightlife, so I did all the clubs: Love, Ibiza, Lux Lounge, Fur, H2O. Like I Park, I'd done all of them, and I had never been the person that gave me the microphone.
yeah.
So now it was like that person put the microphone in my hand and was just like, "All right, you go ahead and take care of it." I don't know what she saw, but I'm glad she seen it
She
because
saw
here we are.
something. She
Yeah,
saw something. You meant it's Thomasina Broadley?
Boardley.
Boardley. Is she still at Bowie State?
She is. She
So
is.
you, Thomasina Boardley, thank you for you, but also thank you for JayCee Ruffin.
Yeah.
You said something and it got me emotional. And I cry easily. So if I cry, just totally ignore me. Totally ignore
Okay.
me.
Okay.
You said she wears so many hats.
Mhm.
Granted, people are not going to get to hear this episode for a couple of months from now, but the minute you said that, Chosen, don't cry, don't cry. But the minute you said that, my mind immediately went to, I know you've heard of the vice president of student affairs at Lincoln University of Missouri,
Uh huh.
who died by suicide.
Correct.
And we've now come to hear of the letter that she wrote to the president. And a lot of it is born out of all the hats that so many Black women wear
Mhm.
at these different spaces and
Mhm.
not being given the grace to go and take care of the things that they needed to take care of. So on
Mhm.
the one hand, I'm celebrating the Thomasina Boardleys of the world for being
Yeah.
there for the JayCee Ruffins of the world. But I
Right.
really do want to also use this as a reminder that for all of us Black women, and I'm going to say Black women, I'm not saying other people don't wear so many hats, but
Yeah.
Black women wear so many hats.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that more and more people give them the grace to take some of those hats off
A
when
hundred
they
percent.
need to take those hats off. And that includes you, JayCee. You just rattled off a lot of stuff earlier on of all the hats that you're wearing.
I
I
know.
hope that you give yourself the grace to take off some of those hats when you need to take off those hats because you're
I'm
you're
learning.
going to be wearing them again, but take them off when you need
Yeah.
to take them off. Okay. All right. I needed to get that out because that just hit me the minute you said so many hats. And we're
Understandable.
recording this on the day of her funeral, which is insane to me. Um,
Wow.
you went to three HBCUs.
I
I'm
did.
going to say two and a half, right? Because
Yeah.
it's
It's
Elizabeth
it's
City,
technically two and
Bowie. There we go.
yeah. The half
So,
was Virginia Union.
oh my gosh, she added yet
Right.
another school in the mix. Father, Lord in
Yeah.
heaven.
Yeah. The half
But
was Virginia Union.
you're from Washington D.C. How
Yeah.
did you end up in North Carolina at Elizabeth City State University in the first place? Give us that journey. How did you select which school you were going to try to make
Right.
your HBCU home in the first place?
So I'm gonna be transparent, and I think a lot of us had these conversations um, in our friend circles, if you will, but we don't say them publicly. I have no problem saying it. Uh, as an athlete, HBCUs were not presented as a destination that could build you up. It was more like a backup plan, right?
Wow.
Um, and at that time, my dad was the only person in the household that had a degree at that time, and because my mom, shout out to her, she went back to school, finished. Now she got associates and her bachelor's. She bad, but the thing is, my dad never talked about Liz like that. He never expressed whatever it was. It was just like I always knew that was my safe school because he knew everybody that went there and worked there, I should say, because he went there. So Elizabeth City is a safe school for me. My dad started out at Livingstone, and he
Mm-mm.
wasn't even gonna go to Livingstone. He was going in the military. Had it not been for his best friend, my uncle, um, he wouldn't have went to school at all. So he started out at Livingstone, and he was in the band on a band scholarship. And when the band director said he was leaving and going to Elizabeth City, he took him with them. So that's how they ended up at Elizabeth City. Um, I think for me, I'm gonna be honest. My first school, I wanted to be a Blue Devil. I wasn't gonna do. I ain't gonna lie to you. I wanted to play ball. We used to go to the amusement park, and every time I saw a Duke basketball, I was shooting, and I won every last one of them. Okay, because I knew my abilities. I was training with people in high school that got offers from ODU, Syracuse, Maryland. I trained with the two national champions for 2006 Maryland basketball, women's Terps. So, and I still have a relationship with them to this day. One of them just got inducted into the Maryland Hall of Fame. Like, so it's, I played with the best of the best. I trained with the best of the best. I've sat in the rooms with the Brenda Freezes of the world when she was on top before we got to the Kim Mulkeys and the, Tara Vanderbilt. And so for me, it's like, I I didn't choose Elizabeth City. Elizabeth City chose me.
Chose
I
you.
say it that way. Because had I had it my way, I would have been in Durham, and it wasn't for
Mm.
Central.
Mm-hmm.
um,
We know why now.
yeah. So but I do say that I implore all of the people, because now we talk about HBCUs like it's a thing, and there's so many different ways that HBCUs are talked about, especially even in
Mm.
our own community. And for me, one thing I wish I would have known was more about the HBCUs when it was coming down to it, because it's a couple of schools that I go to now that I get booked at, and I'm like, dang, I wonder what it would have been like if I had went there.
Mm. Mm.
I wonder what my career would have been like, even in athletics if I had went there.
Yeah.
So I just think sometimes we have to do a better job of allowing ourselves to get out of our way of our own experiences and what happened at our HBCU during our time, and try to be the best version of ourselves and help become game changers in those situations where our kids can go in and they're prideful about the school, not because of the bad things they heard. Because I tell everybody that has an HBCU degree, stop complaining unless you're gonna get your degree back. Now, if you're gonna give it back,
Mm.
run it up. But if you're not giving your degree back, then become a part of the solution, or sit back and watch the show. And
Hmm.
that's literally and that's my take on everything. I got a complaint, but I got some solutions that go with it. They can't say they ain't seen me at every homecoming. Not only can they not say they seen it, but they can't say they ain't been to none of the events that I've actually put together with my homeboys and our partnership that we had over the last 10 years. So you can't, if you have no solution for your complaint, just stop in life, period. But especially as an HBCU, give your degree back. Just give it back, and then complain all you want, because at the end of the day, if somebody talks negatively about an HBCU, then you ready to jump bad. But you think you got a license because you have the degree to go ahead and bash it at the same time. And it's like, nah, yo, like just go be with everybody else. Go do what you gotta do, and just and give it back, because we don't need that.
JC, you always give a lot. I could literally not say a word and literally just listen to you. I'm not joking. I'm not joking. In this very last bit that you just gave a whole heck of a lot, you you don't know it, but you justified for anyone listening the question mark in I
Hmm.
love my HBCU question mark. And let me
Okay.
tell you why. So you know the chant, I love my HBCU. We all know the
Hmm.
chant.
Hmm.
But what did you just say? A good number of us also do a really good job of bashing the
A
HBCUs.
thousand percent.
And you keep on saying, let me be transparent. JC, I don't know you. You've been nothing but transparent from the minute you opened your mouth. You got on you got on within the first few minutes, let the world know that, hold on, I went to 3 HBCUs, but here's why: because I was blackballed and
Yeah.
because I could not really have an experience that I wanted to while I was there.
Hmm.
Also, within the first few minutes, you let the world know, listen, I attempted suicide twice
Yeah.
during this entire period.
Yeah.
And you let the world know, but I was given grace and somebody put a mic in my hand that
Yep.
got me to where you need to quit saying, let me be, listen, I have no choice to be, everything you're saying. Everything you're saying is a moment of transparency, and I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Safe
But what
spaces are
you
also
just said,
uncomfortable.
there we go. Safe spaces are extremely uncomfortable, but
Yeah.
you have to. How else do
Yeah.
you grow from there, right? But
Hmm.
you said something earlier on, because anyone that doesn't listen to the entire episode, A, shame on you, but B, all you would have heard at the very beginning is JC giving some very hard truths about HBCUs.
Hmm.
But then listen to what she just said. I always challenge people with that question mark. You can't just say you love your HBCU. You can't
Right.
just bash your HBCU with no action behind it. If you
Thousand
love
percent.
your HBCU, give us some action. Hold us accountable. Hold
Yeah.
us accountable. We're the only ones that should be able to hold ourselves this accountable. But with that
Yeah.
accountability needs to come some action behind it, some love
Yeah.
in action.
Yeah.
And that's all you've
Uh,
just described. So, girl,
100%.
I could end this episode right now and be done, but I'm not going to. We're not done. We're not done yet. We're not done yet.
Okay.
Baltimore City is home home to us. Washington, D.C. is home to you, but we're cousins.
Yeah,
And not only are we cousins in words, I just found out recently, because I don't really listen to radio like that you
yeah,
are 92Q.
yeah. I
Um,
was 4 years.
what was that like?
So it's so crazy because I feel like every part of my journey has a journey attached to it, right? So, I tried for 6 years to get in radio. And every time I would go into an interview, there was two things that was happening. People was telling me I could do their job, so they didn't hire me. And then the other part of it was I firmly believe in what we say is what we get. And
Hmm.
I really believe as an adult, the word "but" is the worst word we've ever been taught because we try to justify what we try not to say, but we really should say it. And so at the end of the day, for me personally, um, as people utilize that word, I feel like if you apologize to me and still say but, then you don't mean your apologize. You don't mean your apology. Like you just negated everything you said. And so that's literally what I got for 6 years. Well, I should say for five, because year six is when I got in the door. And for 5 years, I would go in the car and I would have the same prayer. Hey God, it's me. About to go in this interview. I'm so excited. If I really want this. However, God, but if it ain't for me, I'm cool with that too. And a lot of times we get in these prayer moments that we have and we say, but God, if it ain't you, and we blame God or we give too much credit to the devil when it's God really listening to what we say. And it's like, yo, you said you was cool with it, so here you go. So it wasn't until my last interview that I had in Baltimore, and let me tell you something. As a kid from DC, but driving to Baltimore is like going out of town. I want to book a flight, okay? That thing is an hour drive. It don't matter how you look at it. 45 to an hour. I'm going
It's
out of town. And I said, all right. So I said, God, listen, let me tell you something. I need this. It ain't no buts in this, but my butt getting this job. I need this. So God, if you hear me, I need you to make this thing happen. That's what I need. And when I tell you, it was so divine how it ended up happening because a program director in Charlotte was the person that recommended me talk to the program director in Baltimore. And I ended up sending him a DM one night when I was in the club. It was like 11:45 at night. That man responded to me and asked, did I have an air check, which is our vocal resume. I sent that thing to him so fast in that DM. He said, no, email it to me. Before I knew it, that was on a Saturday. By probably like Tuesday or Wednesday, I got an email saying I want to bring you in for a reason. I want to bring you in for a interview. And then after, I think that was Thanksgiving, and then I came back in January or February for my second interview to meet with the music director and the program director. And after that, I started hearing the words background check and everything. And I talked to my god sister, who's also my lawyer. And she was like, if you get in a background check, they about to hire you. And I was like, no, they're checking me. That's what they're doing. I said, because I didn't believe it until I got paperwork. Like, you tell me I got a job. Like, as long as I've been trying, my mindset is, listen, we go step by step this thing. So I was in Vegas and I woke up to a background check because I had reached out to him and told him, I said, hey, I hadn't received a background check or anything. So I guess he must have fast tracked, put some email out or something. And I woke up in Vegas and I filled it out. And then about 2 weeks later, I got a call. I was in my driveway. I had just got out of the car. And it was an email that had sent to me, but I had never seen it. And he called me and he was like, hey, can I speak to JayCee? And I was like, yeah, this is her. He's like, yo, I sent you an email. Did you see it? And I was like, nah. And I looked. And I literally asked that man on the phone. I said, is this real? Like, is this real? So I got hired. And I say this, I had a friend. You got to be careful who you got in your ear
Hmm.
because I had a friend who told me, and he didn't mean no harm by it to this day. I still don't think he did. I think he was just telling his truth. But I had a friend tell me, yo, Jay, I don't know nobody that get hired off the street and go straight on the air. I said, all right, well, it's going to be me. And he was like, I'm telling you, yo, you got to get in the door. And every job that I apply for, they always tell me, yo, I'm going to end up having to replace you, so it's no need of me hiring you. So it's like, because they knew I was going to move up the ladder. And so when I got hired, I would go in as board op, promotion assistant, trying to just get in the door. Because that's what they tell you, get in the door. And for somebody who's listening, I'm going to tell you this now. Stop that get in the door mess. Everybody been told to get in the door. So what I need you to do is start applying for the thing you think you're not even qualified for, because I promise you the applicants are very low compared, because everybody is applying to just get in the door. Ain't nobody applying for how they can grow. They already know they got to teach you the absolute situation that you're going to be doing. They know you're going to come in and you don't know everything about their atmosphere. They already know that. But can you do the job? Or was you even one of the ones that applied and it was like, well, you applied, so you got it. So stop trying to do the entry level situations, because I came in off the door and my job said on air talent, not on air talent / board operator / no, it was on air talent, which means at the end of the day, I got hired to talk. And that's what I wanted to do. I didn't want no other position. So in 4 years, I grew the fastest within that station. I went from overnights or pre-recorded shows to live show. So I'll give you this way. I did midnight to 6. I did 7 to midnight. I did 10 to midnight. I did 3 to 7. I did 10 to 3. I did, and this is Monday through Sunday. And when I finally, before I resigned, I did morning radio, and that was my goal, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. So that's the biggest slot in radio, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. And I did that for a year, and due to some unforeseen circumstances, I said I needed to step away. So I still got mad love for my family in Baltimore. I still go up there, still talk to everybody. 92Q is always family. They gave me my opportunity when nobody else gave me a chance. So, but 4 years of radio, baby, that thing is crazy. I ain't gonna lie, I miss it, but 4 years of radio, ain't a lot of people gonna say they got off the street and went straight on the air. Like,
on air.
Yeah,
Straight
2 weeks
on
after
air.
2 weeks after I was hired, I was on the radio.
JayCee, you just give JayCee a mic and just let her talk. That's
all you
honest
gotta
to
do.
God truth. Like, no, seriously, that's skip my portions on this podcast when you're listening to this episode and just go straight to JayCee's. You're gonna get a whole lot more listening to her. That's the honest to God truth. JayCee, I want you to bless our audience with one word or short phrase on why you love HBCUs.
Real life experience. I know you said one, but I gotta say it that way. My HBCU, respectfully, no matter how dysfunctional or functional it may have been, it taught me what to expect when I got into the real world, especially as a Black woman. You know, men win in this game 10 times more than we will, and they get paid 10 times more, and we do the same job, and we probably do a hell of a lot better. I think for me personally, my HBCU showed me that. They showed me that I was valuable, and then they tried to put a cap on it at times too. And that's what the world does. The world will try to show you your value as to how they see you, versus you having to go back and check yourself and say, this is how I see me. And the one thing that's the hardest thing that it took me the longest to do was flip that mirror on myself and literally, you know, be able to say, this is who I am, and be okay with that. And this is who I am just in this season, because we go change every year, but who you are over the next 4 to 7 years is going to change too. And so no matter what, how you face whatever it is you face, because I'm not going to lie to you, I don't have it all together. Like, I had a breakdown the other day. I thought about quitting the other day. I'm not going to lie. I tried to quit so many times. And then y'all send this invite to do this, and I'm just like, God, what are you trying to do to me, man? Because transparently speaking, this industry is not for the faint of heart. And I've been 8 months removed from radio, which also at the time it probably was peaking and I couldn't see it, but I felt like my value was something that they couldn't see. And so value has to meet value. And I also understand who I am. I work better in team spaces, non-toxic environments, and I work better with recognition. And because I know those things and I wasn't getting those things, whether you recognize me monetarily or recognize me in just, you know, a shout out or something, I need that. I know how I function. And I think most of the times we operate in how we think we should function versus how the person is saying it. So that's why I told you, my managed expectations is the reason why I actually know how to treat what it is that's going on. Now, I ain't got it all together, but I know for a fact that I got that down pat. And, you know, it just gets to a space where that my HBCU showed me that. It showed me the business. It showed me the fun. And it also showed me to stop telling people, because they told us, so stop telling these next generation of kids that the next 4 years is gonna be the best 4 years of your life, because they only looking forward to those 4 years, and then after that they going into it like, oh hell, I'm about to be at what's gonna happen. And I ain't gonna lie, as an adult, I've had crazy days, but I've also had some fun times. So
Absolutely.
I stopped putting that negative energy on people and telling them the next 4 years gonna be the best 4 years. Nah, I need the next 60 years, 70 years gonna be the best years of my life, because if I only got them 4, then God, why am I still here? I mean, I know you did everything in 33 years, but baby, I need a little longer than that. Okay. So I need a little longer than that.
JayCee,
So yeah.
JayCee, wow. Thank you. No,
You're
I mean
welcome.
it. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. There are way too many gems that you have dropped that I'm taking. That but one just
Oh yeah.
silenced me. It silenced me. It did. So I know people listen, if you're not listening to this twice or 3 times or 4 times, you're doing yourself some disservice. There's
Yeah.
so much that JayCee has said here that I think so many of us could learn from. I thank you. I thank everyone watching, everyone listening for tuning into I Love My HBCU question mark. If you can't tell that I've enjoyed this conversation, you weren't listening. This amazing alum, I'm going to call her an alum of Elizabeth City State University, an
Yes.
honorary alum of Bowie State University, and so many
Thousand
other
percent.
HBCUs in between.
Yeah. I'm an alum
I've
of
had
everybody that has paid me.
everybody that has paid her. I love it. I also hope that I have earned the pleasure of you subscribing to I Love My HBCU question mark.
Yes.
And how could you not like this episode with JayCee Ruffin on it? JayCee Ruffin is going to be a household name in 2024. That
Wow.
is how I am ending this episode. Yours
Wow.
in HBCU love. See you next episode. JayCee, thank you.
Thank you.
You've been listening to I Love My HBCU question mark. Let's keep the conversation going as we share our stories and encourage more practical support of HBCUs, whilst of course holding each other accountable. Don't forget to follow and subscribe for the latest episodes. Until next time, love and lift your HBCU.